The next one will be also interesting. I mean, I'm saying that all the time, but don't leave. Huh? No slides for Jeroen. If you don't know Jeroen, you should. I mean, you cannot go at a conference in Belgium today without seeing the terminal of Jeroen, like he's showing it to everyone who wants to see it. So today we're gonna do it again. It's gonna be 15 minutes of its terminal live on stage. I saw the guy walking, he has like 20 tabs open, a zillion of agents running in the background, so I mean, it must be interesting. Jeroen, please welcome on stage.
Thank you.
Make yourself at home.
Yeah, I'm going to set up a little bit more comfortably here. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of expectations these days of me doing things in the terminal. So I decided to not use any slides to open, but instead to ask Claude for a little bit of help here with my opening visual. Luckily, it offered me some options because this presentation is going to be about our road to AI first work. So I can go for the big and bold title, like the journey and the road metaphor, or this beautiful wolf. I tried very hard to make it cooler. Didn't really work out. But yeah, I mean, what I want to talk about today is really how we as TechWolf have been tackling and will be tackling this transformation to AI first work. I'm not going to be talking that much about what we do for our customers, like we help them with their AI transformation and the workforce transformation, but basically like this AI revolution, it's our bread and butter. And we really want to push ahead in being among the most leading like AI-first companies to work at, because that's also how we can help our customers, how we can make our team shine, and how we can make the biggest impact as a company. But I'm going to take us back to this very familiar screen. And like ultimately, I think we've all been looking at chat windows for far too long in the last couple of years. But something that we noticed quite early on was that like we were so excited about language models, but then often they weren't that useful. And then at some point, like we started getting these slightly cooler use cases, being like if you put the chat window in a column on the side of your code, then all of a sudden things got a lot more useful. And what we noticed was that within TechWolf, like basically the people who were using like tools like Windsurf and Cursor, and then of course increasingly Claude Code, like that they were starting to use it for a whole bunch of things that had nothing to do with code. Like we had our PMs sneakily getting a Cursor license and starting to do like all of their PRD writing. We had people in marketing trying to do copywriting, like all in these very technical tools, but still finding that they were actually getting high leverage. And like for us, there was this sort of moment where we realized, like, hey, like we can actually figure something out here and bring that to the whole team to really shift the way that we work. We spent quite a lot of time thinking about how we were going to do that, actually, because there's this sort of thing where, like anything with change management, like we're about 100, 130 people now, but it can be really difficult to really change the behaviors. And we came up with this philosophy that to this day, like we very strongly believe in still, which is that, first we want to raise the ceiling and then we want to raise the floor. So the way it basically works is like, what we want to do is create like shining examples of what the future could look like. We want to get people to be so successful in the new way of working that everyone's going to be like calling me day and night, asking for a license or whatever, just because they want to get on board with this too. And then, of course, at some point, like, once you create those examples, you want to get the rest of the team along. So this is what we call raising the floor. And there, essentially, it's not just about raising the expectations for people, but especially also raising the support, like really making sure that you bring people to this new place. For us, what that looked like was basically that we hosted a bootcamp. So we got like a cool offsite location. We selected 8 people from across the business, and we did a 2-day intensive bootcamp. And it started from like a little bit of theory, like we were teaching HR people how to use version control on Git and everything. So it was actually quite an intense training for a lot. But then we went into guided practice, and then finally a hackathon with this goal of creating something that people could use just the next week. Now, the bootcamp turned out to be a huge success. Like what we found was that out of those 8 people, I think about 6 of them actually turned into AI power users in a couple of weeks, and they started inspiring others. So we had a bit of a problem. Like the FOMO was so strong that people were basically coming to my desk every single day, like asking, like, "Hey, when's the next bootcamp? How can I get in?" But luckily, we thought about that because if you're working in an AI-first way, then of course capturing context and using it well is the best thing you can do. And what we did was we captured well the entire training. So all of the 2 days, like we just recorded it, we transcribed it, we made sure that we had context to feed these AI models, and we turned this into a self-guided training that we opened up to the rest of the team. So you can find it online. It's actually just public, it's free. It's at ai-first.techwolf.ai, and of course, since we work around skills a lot, it's like with a skill tree. But basically, like this is a pretty good roadmap if you're getting started with this stuff, or if you're a little bit more advanced, to go from the very foundations all the way to personal productivity, vibe coding, and then we have some new chapters releasing soon in, well, basically building your own tools and truly agentic engineering. And the thing is, like, this sort of pattern of like taking the context from one thing and then turning it into another form that is easier for people to experience. Like we also took that a little bit more extreme, and I mean this was more my weekend project, and some of you may have seen this already, but it's still one of my favorite examples because we turned our entire like Slack data into a Pokémon game. And well, I mean, at this point, it probably looks a bit ugly for those who are used to working with Fable. Basically, but you can visit our office and you can experience all of the TechWolf culture through here, and it goes quite in detail. Like you can go here, like you can collect the TechWolf values. You can even go and grab a coffee, which will energize you if you have any boss battles down the line. But really, like it captures not just the TechWolf team and the culture, but also, well, the customer journey and thousands of basically like inside jokes and things that we found very hard to explain to people coming into the company without them having been there when it got created, but that now for the first time they got to experience themselves. Now, for me, like this game, when I created this, it was also one of the first times that I start running into these token limits very often. Because I was on the max plan, I was flying high, and then all of a sudden you hit the limit. And actually, as we started rolling out this AI first work, like through the training and everything in the company more often, we were also seeing that, well, basically people were bumping into these limits left and right. And something that we noticed is that it's not super obvious sometimes when something's going to be something expensive to do with AI and when something's going to be cheap. Actually, like it seems like the easier it is for us, sometimes the harder it can be for the models and the other way around. So we decided to also start thinking about that in an AI-first way. And well, basically what do you do if you're sick? Then, of course, you go to the doctor. So we came up with our token doctor. And I hope it will diagnose me live for you all. But basically, we created this sort of workflow internally for people to be able to look at their own AI usage and to start diagnosing. Now, you can see here in a second, you will see my health reports. I hope at least. But basically, like for us, like I think sort of going from this initial, like engineering adoption to then further on, like going to this broader adoption, then all of a sudden we realized that, like we had created this momentum, but we really needed to start optimizing more. And we really prefer to put this in the hands of our people, because I think there's a lot that is being said and written. Like I think even today, like a lot is being written about like data collection from employees, about like limits and token spending, etc. And these are very, very real topics. But I think, like for us, what's really key is that this AI change, that it is human-centric. Because ultimately, like we see tokens as a way to create more leverage for the great people that we have, instead of a replacement for people or anything else. But of course, people need to have that awareness. And like for us, like this started with this sort of personal diagnosis. So like you can see, I'm pretty healthy right now. It didn't always look this way, but I've changed my ways since the first report. But you can really see that, well, some of the behaviors that I have with AI are really driving tremendous cost, whereas others are much, much better. Now, I think like with what we're seeing here, like you sort of have these insights for yourselves, but I think what we also struggled with quite a bit is the question, like, well, is what we are doing here, is that normal? Is that expected? Like, where where do we take things? Because I mean, when I talk to our customers, like some of them, they blew through their token budget for the whole year by like February. And now, like they have their finance people chasing them, being like, well, do we turn it off? Well, clearly not, because the engineers will kill us if we turn it off. But there's this real problem there. And actually, this is something that we launched today, so it's quite new. But we decided to launch a community initiative about this. So this is tokenspend.org. Basically, it's a token benchmarking community. And well, all of you, I assume, are receiving a salary. So usually those salaries are determined through salary benchmarking. So a lot of companies put their data in a pool, and then they say, well, a CTO at this stage of company typically gets compensated this much in Belgium. Well, we're kind of doing the same thing, but for tokens. And the way it works is pretty simple. Like, it just connects to open telemetry logs. So like nothing sensitive in there, not the contents of your conversations, but it brings all of that together into a pool, and it allows you to see, well, not just insight into your own usage pattern, but also how you frame compared to others. And like we spent a lot of time thinking about like how we wanted to enter this game, because, well, I mean, it's a free open community, so it's not a commercial product, but we really want this to be successful. And we figured that the best thing for us to do is that we just open up about what we are doing, because I think there's this sort of dynamic, and like there's some people here in the room that earn a lot of money from the token maxing, and then there's a lot of other people here that spend a lot of money when that happens. And I think like it's really in our best interest to be open about these things, like how much you're spending on tokens, what people are adopting, where you're struggling. So for TechWolf, this is all public. So if you go to like the tokenspend.org website /TechWolf, you just get this view, and it's actually live. So if I finish up this demo, like you will see that the number has increased a little bit. But you can see in detail, like how many people do we have, how many of them are power users. So it's like about 50. How sticky is AI across the agentic tools? Like I think for us, about 16 people out of the 130 make up half of the cost. So that's like the concentration we have, how it goes across the team, etc. But really, like for us, well, it's important to be open about this, because I think like there's a lot of companies out there that are making very poor decisions based on the expected impact and cost of AI, and we want to help ground all of that in a much better conversation. Now, it doesn't stop there, and like I want to show you something that we are taking a little bit further there, which is that, well, if you think about it, if next year we're all going to be spending 10 times more on tokens again, then you don't just want to know like what function is spending it or who is doing it, but you want to think about it in terms of the work that you're spending it on. Because just like like if you were to hire consultants to accelerate a project or to buy software to make something work better, like I think tokens, like ideally you think of it as an investment that you put against the work. And we started with this in like the only possible way, by making an AI horoscope for people. So this is again like the output of a skill that we shipped. But basically what this does is it really analyzes like across all of your prompts, like what categories are you spending things on, but also like basically what are you actually doing on a task level. And the way that we've done this with the team is like we've shared the skill, like we've asked for input from the team, because, well, for us the next step is to really bring this to full scale in the company. So we will be basically inferring from all of the prompts in the company, what tasks are people working on, where is the money flowing. And I think like there's a lot of people that are relatively uncomfortable with that idea, because we've all been very used to, typing stuff in this box and basically no one seeing anything other than the final bill. But I think that world is disappearing. And of course, it's super important that we have the right conversations with people, and that we build a system that is trustworthy and that's not singling people out. But actually, like I would much rather have a conversation about the size of investment that we're doing in a specific type of work or accelerating a specific project, instead of going to people as if I'm the token police, sort of telling them that they're spending too much on all of these things. And what we try to do here is to really be very, very open with our people, but also I think shift that conversation, because I think a lot of people are basically saying now, we're going to put a token limit for everyone, and of course, like with our token spend benchmark, like hopefully you can get to like a reasonable band. Like if a software engineer at a senior level is spending this much, then really, like, you probably shouldn't be asking too many questions. But for us, this is really more about shifting a conversation to how can we do more? Because ultimately, like, you have leverage that you get from spending these tokens, and it's really something special. Like, we've never been able to scale intelligence in this way before. But we also need to make sure that we can make that business case and that we can defend the business case. So, like, for us, like, what we are navigating right now is sort of building this data set and this data-driven decision-making in a way that really enables and empowers people so that we can put 10 times more or even 100 times more in tokens behind each and every person in the company, and that still makes sense all the way to our CFO. But yeah, maybe in a couple months I will tell you how that went, but thank you all.